Tammy from the Greens in the Legislative Council. Please welcome Tammy.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here today to see people power in action. Many of you might have seen the newspaper report today where Kevin Foley has labelled the union movement dinosaurs. While I resist the urge to say, Kevin, kettle, hot, black, what are you talking about? I think this is living proof that the union movement is nowhere near extinct yet. The Greens are proud to stand up for workers' rights. We stood up for workers' rights under this Rand government when they savagely attacked work cover. We will stand up for your rights now. We will be unwavering. We know that people entered into enterprise bargaining in good faith. They went in and negotiated with this government, and this government has taken legislation because they didn't get what they wanted in negotiation. However, did they ask for any of this in negotiation? No, they did not. I'd like to point out to the government that every 4 years they have a little negotiation with the South Australian people. Did they tell us that they were going to do this in that negotiation of the election? No, they did not. So next time they come up for election, what do you think we'll be saying? There's a sign over there that says rack 'em, pack 'em, sack 'em. This government has misjudged on this move. They think that people in South Australia consider public servants to be fat cats, pen pushers, and not of any use to society. They underestimate what the public service does. We can see here today, we've seen the nurses, we see teachers, we see ambulance workers, we see the fireys. We cannot miss the fireys with those fantastic. These are people at the forefront of delivering social capital, creating social capital for South Australia, creating community and keeping South Australia going. They cannot suffer cuts and they should not be given this treatment of a legislation being rushed through where it was never ever part of a negotiation at any point before this. The Greens will stand up for this today when this budget bill comes before the Parliament, and I look forward to us getting support from the other parties and the independents. In the upper house, there's the numbers to block it. What I'd like to see is the people power getting the Labor backbenchers who all seem to be telling me behind the scenes that they think this is a terrible move and that this has bad ramifications. Those Labor backbenchers need to start coming out and talking. They need to have the courage of their convictions, and they need to stand up for what the Labor Party has long stood for but no longer stands for today. That is defending the working people and workers' rights. I'd like to see a bit of exfoliation, and I'm sure many people will agree with that today. I'd also like to see this Rand Labor government become a working people's government again and have some vision for real sustainability, and that sustainability to be creating social capital, not legislating for cuts that are unnecessary. These cuts, unlike what Kevin Foley would have you believe, these are not internal cuts. We didn't see any ministers' positions lost. We didn't even see a logbook for their chauffeur-driven limousines. These are not internal cuts. These are cuts to our social capital, and the Greens will stand with you on this today and into the future. Thank you.
That in my living memory, no government would have broken a contract and broken a legal agreement like this before. And it's a shame on the Rand government that you've had to come out here to demand your basic rights. The Rand government have lost the plot. government has broken the law. They've broken the law because with the ambulance officers of this state, there is legislation to protect some of their rights. And they've broken the law with the rest of you because your unions have worked their guts out to get a fair go for you. They signed enterprise agreements. We accepted those in the Parliament. And what have they done now? They've shafted you. And we've got to stop that shafting. You know, morally they're wrong. Contractually they've broken the law because they've broken and breached a contract. And with the rivers of gold they've had through the GST, if they hadn't managed properly, they wouldn't have to cut any jobs and they wouldn't be doing this blatant act of destroying basic entitlements. So what we're going to do on the crossbenches today, I'm introducing amendments to the RANS legislation to overturn this draconian, this unfair and this illegal breach of agreement between the services of the union and you, the workers. And I'm not ashamed to say that as a farmer, I've grown closer to the union because this government needs unions to stick up for you because they give lip service to the union and they stab them in the back when they leave the agreement bargaining table, and it's not acceptable. And can I finally say that when you speak to constituents, you deliver very important services right across the board. And when constituents come to me with serious issues because they can't get into hospitals, they can't get public servants, enough of them to provide the services that they want to deliver, that is wrong, Mr. Rand, when you've doubled a budget in just 8 years. You fixed the mess, you stuffed it up, don't do the workers over in this state. Let's fight and get the message through. Get to your local members and tell them you will remember and you demand an overturn of this nonsense now. Thank you. Thank you, Robert. That was unusual. David Ridgeway is our next speaker. He's the leader of the opposition in the Legislative Council. Please welcome David.
Thank you. This is not just an industrial relations issue, although it is that too. This is not just about money. This is about a treasurer and a government who admitted in Parliament this week it can't control its expenses. We told him on Tuesday he hadn't controlled his expenditure early enough in the budget process. And he said, yes, you're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. He and his government have failed South Australia. They've failed the government in some of the best economic times the state has seen. And now you have to pay the price for their incompetence. He's asking for ordinary South Australians, working men and women, to pay the price for his folly. This is about a government which can't be trusted, which gives you a cast-iron guarantee that there won't be public sector sackings before an election and then breaks the promise straight after. Right at the moment we're looking at a potentially catastrophic fire season. Park rangers could even lose their jobs in the Department of Environment and Natural Resources as a result of these cuts. Minister Kiker said this week during estimates that park rangers can be sacked as part of the government's harsh saving reforms. We're not afraid of tough decisions, says Mike Rand. Well, here's news for Mike Rand. We're not afraid to toss him out. Rand's mixed up. He thinks a tough decision's a smart decision. He thinks it's okay to break his promises and his commitments to his friends and his supporters. Now, you've had your blues with Liberal governments in the past, and you'll probably have stoushes with us again in the future. But one thing will always be is we'll be straight and we'll tell the truth. And this rally today is nothing more than about the truth. It used to be the Labor Party that believed standing up for the weak and underprivileged, the helpless and the powerless. It used to be the ALP that was the champ of the underdog. Well, now they've bitten the hand that feeds them. It's your turn to bite him back.
The workers united will never be defeated. Let's hear it again. Workers united will never be defeated. an independent in the Legislative Council. Please welcome Anne to the microphone.
Thank you all, and thank you for coming here, and good on you for showing your unity on this issue. Every day we stand up on a sitting day in Parliament and we say a prayer, asking for guidance to make our deliberations in the true welfare of the people of this state. Is this legislation for the true welfare of the people of this state? In 2008, we stood in Parliament and we slashed the entitlements of injured workers. This was by the Labor government, red, folding Labor government. Today, 2 years later, we stand here threatening to cut your entitlements, your agreed and negotiated contracts. This government has no honour. This government has no honour. This is not the Labor government of the people. This is not the Labor government that my father died being proud to be a member of. This government has betrayed the workers of this state. This government will continue to betray the workers of this state until you hold them to account. And I make this promise to you. This legislation will not pass in the upper house at the hands of the independents and the crossbenchers. We will oppose.
We had another speaker today, John Daly, as I said before, who was going to speak, but unfortunately he's been detained. But he's said exactly what Anne just said. As far as he's concerned as an independent, it will not pass by his hands. The next speaker is Kelly Vincent. Again, dignity for the disabled in the upper house. Please welcome Kelly.
I don't know if you can hear me. I can clearly hear myself. There we are. Excellent. That's always a good start. We talk about this being a people's parliament. But how can that be when we are not open to scrutiny? And we're not giving our people a real chance to voice their needs and their opinions? If public sector workers are disempowered, this will surely have a negative impact and disempower the people they serve, the people of this state. I will not be supporting these cuts as the government must take workers' entitlements to the bargaining table and not at the tables of our chambers and parliament. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Why don't we give her another big round of applause?